Well, today's the day. Today is the day that you stand for what you want. Now, welcome. This is the Maturity Project. I am coming to you from my mobile studio at my commute. Prior to work, I've got the gym. It's about 30 miles, 32 miles from my house. So that's where our corporate headquarters is, down the street from the gym. So, yeah. I'm your host. Search Chat for Broshears, or, well, that's just some. If you know, you know. Or Chat for Broshears to others. Today, I'm going to talk about it's the little things that count. And it's so incredibly easy to forget, or to not even realize that the little things that are going on right now contribute to the greater whole, right? Like little pieces of grains of sand. But here's the cool thing that I like to, as a tangible thing, is I've done a lot of different jobs in my life. One of those jobs was a specific, just little, very mundane thing, right? It's like very minuscule thing that I was doing. And, it's like for every little action that I did was really very, very small amount of response out of it, right? Like there's next to nothing that you can see. And before I know it, it just kind of like I drifted off into thought. And this one thing specific was I was working at a power plant and I had to use a grinder to just do something, right? It's like just had some tools that I need to modify, or some things that I need to sharpen some things, whatever. I was using a grinder for it. And I noticed where the discharge of the grinding wheel, where it was spitting out the little bits of metal. And I'm like, okay, well, not much, just something you'd have to clean up at the end of the day anyway. It just made this little pile. And kind of drifted off into thought, just doing things to make sure I was safe about it, but it just really wasn't doing much more than that. Just kind of thinking about other things, And an hour goes by. In the beginning, I was just really taking the information to make sure that I was doing things correctly, the job was being done, and the way that I was shown to do it from the safety perspective to the intended outcome, and then that's it, right? It's very, very minuscule job, very simplistic, if you will. And I noticed that there was a little bit of a collection. They're like, you got to clean that at the end of the day, whatever. And then by the end of the day, actually, I checked back in about it, kind of brought my consciousness back to it, but instead of just drifting off. As about an hour in, I noticed the pile gotten a little bit bigger. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then another hour goes by roughly, I'm like, all right, take a break, lunch, whatever, go back to it. Before I know it, at the end of the day, I realized, excuse me, wow, that snuck up on me. At the end of the day, man, I realized this pile was massive. It just got so much bigger than I expected it to. But it's because that small little action that I was doing all day, even though the intended visual was the thing that, I want to make these things sharper or modify whatever it is that I'm doing, because there's a couple of different tasks that I had with these pieces of, metal that I had to work with on this grinder. And the focal point was do this thing. And then it kind of gave me something that I had some degree of measurement on, like if it were sharper, I could check the blade's edge and just make sure it was what I wanted it to be, and then move on to the next piece and that. So I had qualifiers. But what I wasn't paying attention to was as much. I was paying far less attention to what was piling up, all the little shavings that was coming off of this grinder. And when I say it was massive by comparison to the simplistic movement, and then you could visually see, there's every stroke, every time you went by, move this piece of metal across the grinder, it would didn't seem like he was doing anything really. On the back end, the discharge, you can just see like little sparks or whatever. It's a little coloration from the metal, and that's it. But it was real easy to miss it. Oh, that was pretty fascinating to think about the other side of it, what I wasn't paying attention to. So, and the reason why that's interesting and valuable is that the little things that we do on a daily basis, we're not paying attention to necessarily. Like, we're paying attention to something about it to some degree, but a lot of times it's in a combination of other things so that you can't tell that has a singular attribute to the collective requirements of the whole. So you're like, whatever, you don't think about it much. Well, it has an outcome as well. There's a consequence of it, and it's like, and I don't like to use consequences always a negative. That's back to the, it just has an outcome, and it's, you're not paying attention to it, then you got to deal with it, right? So like, it's like the things that we do to help us feel better, well, or to feel good, or to validate ourselves, whatever. Like, I need to give myself a treat. Well, when you give yourself a treat, and it's the first time and you've never given yourself that particular treat, where you really have been like, kind of like me, you don't really do a whole lot of things that most people qualify as a treat. You kind of, it really has a significant impact by comparison to the continuation of that. Like, if you're sitting there doing it all the time, it doesn't have that same punch. It doesn't have that same value. So it's the outcome to it, right? So we do these things and don't realize really what we're, the bigger picture of what it is. So the little things, even whenever you give yourself something, you do something nice for yourself or whatever, it's just all these little things keep piling up or adding up, and before you know it, it's like ripples in the pond. It just keeps adding these ripples, and then there's a consequence to it, because it doesn't just reach the shorelines. The ripple actually feeds back into the pond, but it's losing its momentum. Excuse me, I gotta change lanes and do it one more time. There we go. Anyway, all right, so that consequence thing, right? So it's fascinating to me because we just line things up. We do a lot of actions, and we don't really take into consideration what each one of those things actually has as a consequence. Typically, we look at the bigger result, the bigger outcome, not the other aspects to it. So if you're questioning why you keep ending up in certain places, why you keep ending up with certain people, why you keep having the same types of results, even though you've changed specific things, the overall framework probably hasn't been touched, and likely hasn't, if that be the case. But the little things add up. You do need to have an idea about what kind of outcome you want. Absolutely. You have to know what you want to accomplish overall. Like, so for me, you've got to know exactly what you want to accomplish in life, the best that you can comprehend what that is now. Like, so what kind of purpose do you have? That'd be the life goal, purpose. So that's there, but then there's everything that lines up with that. So there's the small things, right? So if you want to be, known as being an incredibly good person that does amazing things for society and is incredibly charitable, but then whenever you get donations, you go off and you play and you use that money, right? Well, that's kind of very conflicting to the intended goal outcome. It's contradicting. Well, you have other things where they kind of line up, right? Let's say you want to, really, again, the fitness industry is such an easy one to go to at times, but let's say you want to get to the point where you're just, you want to lose weight. And every time you have an accomplishment, you do something, you give yourself a treat. Well, that treat be something sweet or something that causes your body to retain the fat cells, right? Or that contribute to increasing the fat cell storage. Now, what does it line up well with your goal if every time you've set along the way a treat for that? So, hey, I did a good job. I'm going to grab a cookie or whatever. Okay, well, how many times have you given yourself the set point of doing a good job? See, it's so commonly in our space about weight loss that this particular analogy can be more powerful. But this lines up with everything. So if you want to be, let's say if you want to be smarter, right? Well, what's the gauge of smarter? Smart is not one particular attribute. It's referred to as IQ, and IQ stands for intelligence quotients, which is the multitude of different areas of intelligences and how well they measure up to your functionality. Memorization's part of that, critical thinking, problem solving, puzzles. There's a lot of things that line up to that. So if you want to be smarter, by what measurement? Memory there's tricks, there's hacks, there's ways of creating memory flow, if you will, something that makes it more, achievable. Apologizing. Wow. So you have these that's there, right? So you got to know exactly what your measurement is. Is it memory? Because you have like a photographic memory. Is that construed as being smart? Because some people do think that. So overall, what is it? If you want to be smarter, are you reading? Because reading creates a lot of the practices necessary in the measurement of intelligence. It's not the entirety or the totality of measurement, but it does have contributory factors. So do you read? And what do you give your brain, right? Regularly, are you giving your brain something to exercise problem solving with? Are you challenging it? If, let's say, I want to be smarter, but then you do something that actually does it for you. If you want to be a better writer, and then you're using, predictive text or, Microsoft Word to write it out for you, or now AI, right? You want to be a better writer, but then use AI to do it for you. It's actually going to make you a worse writer, not a better writer. Because it reduces your challenges, other than proofing something if you take the time to do it. But that would make you a better proofer, a proofreader, not a writer. So you have to put the right things in alignment. Small things add up. I'm a huge fan of taking the rougher road and taking on the work, because the work changes you into whatever it's going to change you into. Add them up. It's every little step. Observe children and watch them develop their skills, and their abilities, and then give yourself the same grace. You may have practice in those areas, but wherever it is you want to go, likely needs you to go that next step. Need you to go somewhere else. So you got to continue to develop yourself. But that's also part of the joy. But for me, the experience of growth and development is so incredibly rewarding. Like right now, I'm feeling the joys of changing my workout enough that my muscles are giving me the response, which is known as DOMS. DOMS, if you're not familiar with it, it stands for delayed onset muscle soreness. It's not actually hard to create DOMS. You just change your movement pattern outside of what's considered to be familiar to you in motor recruitment, and the fibers have to react in such a way that it will cause the stimulation of DOMS. It's just, how far from your normal movements. Being in the fitness industry as long as I have, I can take anybody from any background and give them DOMS within one workout. I just ask a couple of questions and I know what I need to do. If that's the measurement of success, well, fantastic. That's easy to achieve whenever you understand how the body works. But you should look for mentors as well along the way, because they'll help you identify the small steps, benchmarks, and ways to look back and qualify that what you have actually done is something making improvements in your life, and have enough wisdom to know that what you set your goals on today does not mean that the outcome will look like that. Because we fantasize our goals often. We don't really know what they're going to be as far as like how you're going to experience the outcome, like the actual result of it. You qualify it. How do you live in it? Those are the things that we typically don't do. So because why, right? You're so good at daydreaming, and those daydreams typically we align things. Typically we align things that really make us feel good. That make us, and it doesn't mean physically feel good all the time. Although typically, if you feel good mentally, you feel good physically, or you feel better physically. Now, so to qualify exactly what it is that you want to experience, mentors can help you see more because they know what the process is like. Really good mentors know how to put you in the right framework, but then understand there's so many variations of the outcome and the process, that the framework is the gifting value, the structure, the scaffolding to get you to your goal. And then to be able to tell you, hey, you made it. It's like a coach, for the high-end athletes. Have you ever noticed in some of the high-end spectator sports or whatever, somebody's there immediately after the performance? It's how you get them to come out of it long enough to realize it's over. Like they did it. There's a lot of times when you watch boxing where you see, the match is over and the person's just not there yet. They're still so far in the boxing match that they're coming back. You can see it on their face. You can see it in their eyes. They're like, oh my God, it's like, come back to me. Come on. You got it. Come here now because the cameras are coming. It's like they're about to film you. You have to switch out of that world of boxing, of the fight, and go into, now it's time to be a showman. It's time to interact. You got to. It's like differing levels. Really good mentors can do that. And they can do that well. I may be that for some people. It may not be. My goal is just to inspire views and change things. And I am so interested in learning from you as much as you find yourself maybe interested in learning from me, because this world has way too many experiences for us to have in one lifetime. So we got to figure out how we're going to put the allowances that our life gives us. You can look at every single day of your life and call that an allowance, right? How much are you giving yourself to spend on specific experiences? So that is a good way to put it, right? It's like, look, you've only got so much time in a day. You've only got so many days in the month. You've only got so many months in the year. You've only got so many years in your life. So what are you spending it on? Because all the little actions add up to bigger actions. And then those bigger actions are actually small actions by comparison to bigger actions, and it's like, take a second to realize you have so much control over your life. If you shift that perspective, man, the world does start changing. As a child, I just could not wrap my head around why my dad woke up so early. Other than I just set it as a default, it's because the Navy, as my father retired from the Navy taught him to. And they conditioned him to. That's not why he woke up early. Sure, it had some value, but not everybody who leaves the military does that. Some people sleep in. It's like, my dad did it because there's stuff to do and stuff that he wanted to experience. And, he worked his butt off. Well, guess what? 44 years old. I go to bed around 9 o'clock. I get up at 3. That's not to brag. That's to tell you I'm so driven to create the life experiences that I want. There's a lot to do, and really there's no manual for any of this stuff. There's just the people that have given enough time to create the insights necessary for people to say, oh, that's a good way of doing it. Or if it's enough of an agreement, people say that's the way of doing it. Now, and yeah, it might be the best for some people, but for other people, it may not be. That's why I'm like, hey, man, that's why we need more people on the journey. So, it's like, it's a rewarding experience for human beings to accomplish their goals. And I can tell you now, if we're taught how to accomplish our goals at a young age, and we're taught throughout our life, continuously conditioned on how to accomplish our goals, I really do feel that we would have less challenges in the world. Now, granted, there's always going to be people that have the destructive side to who they are. It's always going to be there. It's just part of the human nature. Even if they have the right circumstances, there's something that just on a genetic level just is to be the antagonist. But if you look at what challenges do to an individual, that's actually beneficial to the species, to us as a species. It's beneficial to us that we do have people that create challenges. Now, yes, it sucks, especially whenever you have those historical challenges, right? Like you've got, Mussolini, you've got Stalin, Pol Pot, Mao Zedong, and obviously Hitler. Some people would say the same thing about Genghis Khan. It's like we have to have those in order to create the challenges, and that's a reason why we have them. It's not really a reason why it's just that's a fact of human being that we have those antagonists. But the benefit is that they create the challenge necessary to move us along as a conglomerate whole. Because if things are too easy, we have challenges. And if you teach people how to take on challenges and to outgrow them, then yeah, you eventually make it that what we consider easy is a benchmark that moves, it changes. So what is a struggle one day becomes easier the next. As long as you put the effort in. That's and in some instances, maybe you don't have to put the effort in necessarily, depending on the level of cognitive understanding and functionality. But still, the point of it is that with practice, things get easier. Practice is repetition. If things get too easy, we have a problem with that because we're also a species built to struggle. It's one of the reasons why struggling and the sacrifices that we go through play such a beneficial role to us. Why it feels so good to have the end of the day when you look back at the sacrifices that you've made and realize that actually has moved you forward. It feels good, like you can recognize I did something. So we're going to have those things. If you change your perspective, you can change it to something powerful for you, which is I appreciate the challenges that I have. Like at the stage that I'm at in my life, I'm all like, hell yeah, man. There's a challenge. Let's go for it. Now, mind you, I am learning that I have thresholds and I have limits. Absolutely learning those things, and I'm aware of it. And I live in that awareness. Like, wow, I thought I was better put together, which is also a common thing, right? I'm making myself wrong based off the strengths of other areas of measurement and previous experiences. And I'm going in my head thinking I thought I could do better, I thought I would be better, that kind of thing. And that needs me to return to myself with graciousness and love. And to say, yeah, look at that lesson. How about that? It's fantastic. I love it. That's a thing. It's like, I used to fret. I used to be, challenged by. If something were happening, and like that I was outside of the plan, if you will, it was frustrating me, or, it just wasn't, frustration came from the attachment of an outcome that wasn't manifesting itself or being manifested. So, yeah, I'm like at a different stage of my life, and sure, I'd actually live in the frustration more. Right now, I look at the frustration as, if it shows up, as fuel. Give me that fuel, man. This is the challenge I need. Now, wow, that really hit. Oh, man. Yeah, it's the challenge that I need, because what's on the other side of that challenge is a better version of me, or a better adapt version of me. So even though it may look bad from the outside for more people or whatever, negative, it doesn't mean anything, man. It's just that it may be negative for now, or negative based off of the way that their perspective is giving them the view, you know. But yeah, dude, it's like these things are fantastic. Because look, man, you got the school of life. You know, those lessons are coming, man. Those tests are happening. You know, it's gonna be up to you how well you do on those tests, and did you study? And I try not to spend too much time in la la land. I much rather study. Like, yeah, shit happened in my life. That's what I'm studying. Things happen. I study what led up to that, and I actually go back a bit. It's not like what happened the day before or 5 minutes before or whatever. I'll go back to the decisions, lining those things up. Like, what decisions did I make to get me here? How did I feel emotionally about that getting there? That's the kind of stuff that I do, and I enjoy the hell out of it. Because then I'm like, oh, I see where it started to do with this thing, and it gives me more ability for any other future similar situations, or even completely adverse, different situations that I'm like, hey man, this has nothing to do with it, but those tools make sense, they work here. Like, yeah, it might be an odd bird, man. I might be one of those weird people. Who knows? Perhaps I am an outcast. Conditioned myself to be that. No, I've always thought differently, but I've had an ability throughout my life to get other people to think in a way that lines up, changing perspectives, and, you know, increasing their insights and their abilities to have insights. To me, that's such a wonderful reward. Just, hey, yeah, you're struggling, man. That's, you know, I get it. I don't go to people whenever they're struggling unless they know me well. But if they don't know me well, they're like, yeah, I'm struggling. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you're struggling. I don't do that. That's crazy. You know, that's, to me, that's mean. You know, it can be mean. It could be a lot of things, because it can come across as insensitive and kind of, you know, possibly, you know, anti-social personality disorder trait levels, you know. I'm not that. I don't want that. I want people to really have a different experience in life. So with this, the whole thing is this, man. It's just like, if you start learning how to take on the different challenges and look at what's caused this and got you to that point, you focus on the little things, the little shavings of metal from the grinder, right? That's the, you know, the grinder is a great example of changing your life. You know, you've got this hard material, metal, and it's being forged into something else. It's being shaped into something else, and it's being shaped by the friction of the wheel, which is the wheel's life. And because of the way that I was manipulating that metal, it changed it in the direction of what I wanted it to become. And then on the other side of all that shavings and things, that was actually what was left. That was the leavings of change. That was all the little things that added up, that actually gave the insight to say, man, I've come a long way. But it's the little things. So, all right, that's it for today. The little things count. Let's work on that. Let's create something awesome. But don't forget, you know, you could also look at it like a painter or an artist. You know, whenever the artist starts off, you're like, I don't know what they're making. That's pretty cool, but I don't know what the hell they're making. Well, that's kind of life. You don't know what the hell you're making right now, but just continue the process, and you'll see it's going to be pretty cool. You know, it'll turn into it'll be something amazing to you. You just got to keep working on it. All right, until next time, I am your host, Chad Everett Broshears, or Sir Chad Everett Broshears to some. If you know, you know. And this is the Maturity Project. So share this video with people in your life you want to break the ice with, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment in the comment sections on the video. And you know, it's if you take this on, you'll be geared to grow. And the great thing about being geared to grow is a lot of things are possible from there. But you got to get after it, you know. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun and an interesting process, and you're not gonna win every step of the way. You will win every step of the way. You just may not. You're likely not going to qualify that from all the bumps on the head that you're going to get along the way. But yeah, with that, it's let's get to it, man. We got a world to address and a world to work on, but we really got to do that. We got to work on ourselves first. So join me in that journey. All right. Till next time, we'll get to it. ABG, always be growing. All right. Till next time, let's get to it. See ya.